What's up, Chicago? This is CZR. You're tuned into Harv Roman on Club Kid Radio.
AM 1590 is WCGO Radio, where Chicago goes for Club Kids Radio on a Saturday morning. That track is entitled Deep Into the Track by CZR, Cesar Hernandez. He is our, not a celebrity hotline conversationalist. I almost said celebrity hotline conversationalist. We taped an interview recently at his Output Lounge that is on Grand and Wood Street, 1758 West Grand Avenue. And Cesar is now expanding above and beyond the musical genre to get into restauranting and sports lounges and things like that. And we sat down for a very, very long conversation, which is going to take a couple of shows to get over. By the way, each track that we hear today, it is off of his Chicago House Experience. Yep, mixed by CZR. It's the Dance Music Vibe of Chicago, and that's what we're going to have today as our special guest on Club Kids Radio. I also have to remind you that even though I was checking the levels of his microphone while we were recording the experience over at the Output Lounge, for some reason I couldn't tell that my microphone was a bit too loud. So you'll hear Cesar perfectly, but my voice is going to be a little bit rougher. And so you'll have to put up with my deep, muffled voice in order to hear CZR talk about what he's going to talk about. But it's still a very, very cool conversation. A one short 15-minute segment is already up on the YouTube. Adri Lopez of the new 90.5 FM shot video for us, and she shot most of the interview, and we'll put up most of that on YouTube. But right now, let us go to the audio part of it so then you can hear the words, the music of Chicago's house experience through the eyes of CZR.
AM 1590 is WRTE in Chicago, where Chicago goes for Club Kids Radio, and a celebrity hotline conversation, but it's kind of a conversation that we're doing live, not necessarily on a celebrity hotline. 21 years ago, we spoke for the first time behind mics. And it took 21 years to get to this point again. I don't understand why it took so long. But ladies and gentlemen, Cesar Hernandez, CZR, how are you?
Very good.
It has been 21 years.
When I hear that number, it's crazy.
It's an amazing thing because I took the picture that you had signed for us back in the day of the classic WCYC, and I posted it on the Facebook, and I promoted to everybody that we're going to do this live interview at the Output, and then we're going to put it on 1590 AM and wakeupdancing.com, and then your buddy, your pal, your homie, Benji Espinosa started saying that this is a picture of your son, and it's not really you, and then I did the math, and that picture is actually older than your son.
Yes, it is.
That's kind of an amazing thing.
That's funny. Yeah, I was 16 when I took that picure.
Wow.
16 years old.
I don't think I realized it back then. Did I ask you back then how it was that you were so young and got in the game at the age of 16?
No, actually we never even got to that.
I don't even remember I remember that we were there. I remember the interview. I remember you saying it was your first interview.
Right.
But I haven't found that cassette tape in forever. There's shoeboxes on top of shoeboxes, and I haven't found it yet. But I don't remember asking you about your 16ness. Maybe I didn't even know you were 16 at the time.
Yeah, maybe not. A lot of people always thought that I was older than I really was. You know what I mean? Maybe the way I carried myself, I'm not sure. So maybe that's why they didn't even come up, I guess. I don't know, you know what I mean?
Now, back then, we were talking about Dance to the Drummer's Beat, which Alex played on Wednesday, by the way, because I let him know we got to play some CZR music. Yeah, I told him he had to dig it up.
Funny, good.
Because you've done so much since then, and it started with that track. And it's kind of a revolutionary track, but think about it, 'cause you had elements of hip house, and then you had elements of house, and it was a little speeded up for that type of track for its time.
Right.
But you're 16.
Yeah.
So how do you put something like that together?
You know what? Honestly, I really don't know. It just, stuff just comes to you. You know what I mean? For the most part, even just starting to produce when I was 16. I mean, before that I was a DJ. You know what I mean? So I started DJing since I was 12. So as my creativity kind of started just evolving or whatever, I wanted to get into producing. One thing that actually kind of like triggered in my head to actually start producing is I heard a quote. I'm gonna say how I heard it because I never actually heard it from the actual person, which was Frankie Knuckles. But a person told me that Frankie Knuckles said, you know what I mean, that today's DJ is tomorrow's producer. So when I heard that, to me, I was like, yeah, because I have ideas, you know,
right.
And then you just go with them or whatever. So I was working at DJ International, at Quantum really, which is the distribution company for DJ International at the time. So I was there and I had ideas, so I talked to Rocky, gave him a little demo, and then he gave me some studio time. Then going in there, then I was working with Craig Loftus, and then he helped me develop my ideas into actual with the equipment and whatever, you know what I mean. So that was my engineer, and so whatever I had ideas that he just made them happen for me, you know what I mean. So
and that became a legendary record label, DJ International. Obviously, his first name was DJ, and a lot of you were on there. Kenny was a DJ; he had tracks on there. Chippy was a DJ. Tyree was a DJ. Fast Eddie was a DJ. Frankie Hollywood was a DJ.
Right.
It seemed like almost every track they had was a DJ who was kind of dipping a toe into the pool of producing.
Right. I think that's how it went too. Going back to that quote, to me that meant a lot because I'm like, yeah, because I have ideas and stuff, So seeing it firsthand from, like you said, Fast Eddie, Tyree, and all these guys, I'm like, I can do this. You know what I mean? So we went, did the recordings or whatever, and I was in the studio with some of their sessions, and I picked up whatever they were doing. And that's kind of how it went, you know what I mean?
And you were the little brother of the bunch back then, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Because I remember, and I told you this off the air when I came to visit you at the airport a week or so ago, the two that I remember of the Young Bucks, like the little brothers, were you and Peter Ambrose, who called himself MC Action at the time.
MC Action, yeah.
So you've got Fast Eddie, who at that time had blown up. You got Kenny Jason with all of his Hot Mix 5-ness. Frankie Hollywood, who was on B96.
Right.
And then you've got CZR and MC Action, who are like high schoolers.
Right. From Pilsen, So yeah, to me, again, being around these guys, again, the Fast Eddies and Martin Boogeyman Lunas, and like these guys, when I saw them, like they were just like us, you know what I mean? So there was no egos with them. They loved what they were doing, and I was like, wow, that's what I want to do. You know what I mean? That's what I want to do for a living. That's what it triggered for me that I want to do that for a living. Make music and DJ. You know what I mean?
Well, one of the things, I don't want to forget this because I spent the morning looking for your CD mix that you had put out. I guess it was in the 90s. I don't remember the exact year. And someone told me that my name was on the credits.
Oh, yes.
That you gave a shout out. It's a shout out.
It's a shout out.
And I couldn't find the thing. And I remember telling you this, and you had faxed me over a copy of the album credits, and you pointed it out and said, there you are.
Right.
And then later on in life, I'm going through 12-inch singles, and there was a blue label that also says CZR on it, and then there's another album credit, another shout out that says Harv Roman on it. And so I never really bumped into you enough to say, wow, thanks for the shout out, but man, thanks for the shout out. I couldn't find the CD and I couldn't find the record. I know where they're at, but 20-some years ago and all these CDs and albums later, that's the big round black thing. I needed to find them and I wanted you to sign off on it, but I'm going to just have to come back.
Yeah, well, no, for sure.
But it was huge.
Thank you.
No, it was huge of you back then to not once, but at least twice, pay tribute to people that you thought deserved, album mention. I mean, for people like us, or like Adri, who's with the new 90.5, that's kind of like an endorsement of, hey, you guys are a part of this all.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that that's exactly what it is. You know what I mean? To me, you can't take anything for granted. You know what I mean? Just life in general. You know what I mean? But specifically talking about music, to me, it's just like, who's to say that because this, you listen to the music, you're helping me with the interview, then it's exposing me to other people, and so you got to be appreciative of that. You know what I mean?
Talking about you never know what's going to happen next. Somebody that you and I both know, DJ Flame, is not with us. It's been maybe a week and a half. Can you tell me a little bit about him? I mean, he was such an impact in terms of the mixed world and the nightclub world, and he wasn't really one of the guys that like went everywhere and spun like the neighborhood DJs because he always had a club to spin it. Right. But a lot of people know this guy.
Yeah.
Talking about you never know what's going to happen next. Somebody that you and I both know, DJ Flame, is not with us. It's been maybe a week and a half. Can you tell me a little bit about him? I mean, he was such an impact in terms of the mixed world and the nightclub world, and he wasn't really one of the guys that like went everywhere and spun like the neighborhood DJs because he always had a club to spin it. Right. But a lot of people know this guy.
Yeah, it's actually I'm glad that people knew him, and I met him back then. You know what I mean? So when I was starting to make music or whatever, and so yeah, great guy. You know what I mean? We hung out, and I met him in Cesar, as a matter of fact. You know what I mean? And but yeah, he's done stuff that it speaks for itself. You know what I mean? He was DJing at clubs and whatever, so doing his thing and promoting the brand of music that he likes. And
this was another kid that came from a community that wasn't really considered a great community. The original WCYC is at 28th Ed Ridgeway. Oh my God, it's gangland. Right. And then a bunch of our listeners were in Cicero, and they were a little further south, Berwyn, Summit, things like that. I remember a lot of our listeners were up and down 26th Street on the other side of Cermak, and people used to look at us like, look at the type of listeners you have. And even some of our DJs didn't have great reputations that we had to clean up. But you guys came out of this Pilsen, Little Village, Cicero community, and you've done some pretty neat things, and not enough people look at those communities and say, hey, there's some new kids coming out of there.
Right. No, I think that, just in Chicago overall has like great talent. I know people from just throughout Chicago and the suburbs or whatever, and I really like to help them and develop them and even just to talk to them whenever, people hit me up like, how did you do this? How do you do that? Or look, I'm trying to do this, and it's just like, whatever I can do to help them, because everybody needs somebody to help them in some way or another. You know what I mean?
And seeing your name on a regular basis on a bunch of 12-inch singles that you can still find if you look hard enough for them. After Dance to the Drummer's Beat, you stayed in the game for a good long time. It's like you never really left.
Right.
But unless we saw you at an event, we weren't really seeing you. So what were you up to?
So we were talking about Dance to the Drummer's Beat. So I did that. I was doing mixtapes. I did a lot of mixtapes and stuff with a partner of mine named Rafael Ito Garcia. So it was CZR and Ito under the Hispanic Syndicate Empire. So we were doing like mixtapes. We did like 3 volumes of this one series of it's called the Ultimate Party Mix. Then so when I made those first couple of recordings, then I just was doing mixtapes. Then I got the itch to record again. So then I rented out a studio, put some beats together, and kind of when they say put your money where your mouth is, I put my money into the vinyl, like trying to I did everything from the mastering to the, going to the shops and selling it out of the trunk,
I remember too, because the one that I have with my name on it, the blue and white label, it was like CZR Records. It wasn't DJ International. It wasn't Underground.
Right.
It was CZR.
Yeah, exactly. That much more independent or whatever. So from there, it came down to like selling stuff out of your trunk, because I was doing the mixtapes. So going to the stores, I already had the
You're like the Mega Mall guy before the Mega Mall guy.
Right. So I went and sold the records, and then from there, the next release, that's when I actually hooked up with Bad Boy Bill with his label IHR, and then we did some releases with him, and then I did the Subliminal stuff with Eric Murillo. But you just kind of just keep developing, your sound, and to me, I like to push boundaries and just trying to create new stuff, and then combine old stuff with new stuff, and give it a new twist or whatever. So when I was doing that, I was touring as well with Subliminal Camp. At that point when I was doing the stuff with Subliminals, I was touring, going to Ibiza, going to Portugal, Germany, and it's just everywhere. You know what I mean? So then, all that touring, whatever, then I kind of stopped making music for a little bit. Then I, come back, then I needed to make some more music, and, so it's just like one thing is going to suffer, you know what I mean? So you got to, but now with the technology now, like you have laptops, you can record, on the plane, you know what I mean, or whatever, so now it's a whole different game. But back then, like, you either did this or you did that, so I was trying to do both and balance it, whatever, and, still worked out.
It's interesting that you say all that, because part of the aura of Cesar Hernandez, CZR, is that you're like the quiet guy. You're the quiet kid. You're more or less in the back. You weren't bringing a lot of attention to yourself. You didn't give yourself some crazy nickname. You didn't proclaim yourself to be a legendary DJ. I don't have anything against legendary DJs, but I look at pluggers, and there'll be somebody who's spinning somewhere, and it'll say the legendary Harv Roman. I'm like, what the heck did Harv do to become a legend? You're old and you're a legend, and to me, you're a legend if you're Billy. If you're Billy and you go to Germany and fill up a football stadium, that's legendary.
Yeah, exactly.
But you were kind of quiet, even when you run into each other at events. It's just kind of like, yo, what's up? And you just kind of blend into the crowd. Is that intentional, or is that just your personality?
No, it's my personality. Like, I've always been a shy kid. Growing up, just kept to myself, and that's it. You know what I mean? People speak to me. I'm open all day long. People want to talk to me, I talk to them. But I'm just like, I don't know if I don't know how to start a conversation, or I just don't want to start a conversation. I'm just like shy, you know what I mean? But I've always been like that, yeah.
And you also don't have this big old thug look like some of the artists that came out. There were some that were perpetrating, as they say back then. You could look at a promo picture of somebody and all the glamour and gold and whatever, and then you see your promo, and then again somebody like Bill, he was just doing his thing. If you didn't know what he was up to, you wouldn't know what he was up to. Everybody else knew what he was up to. What separated you guys who went out and did like world tours and stuff from all the rest of the guys? Because you know, like I do, you could pull up any number of a flyer and there's like 82 DJs spinning on the same night at some event, and out of those 82, maybe one of them left town to spin somewhere else. Maybe one of them put out their own records. Maybe one of them has got reputation on the radio. Right. What separated you guys from all the rest?
You know what? One thing that I did pick up from Bill, which just like anything else, you talk to people, and then you pick their brain, and then you kind of like have something in common. You find something in common or whatever. One thing that I do know about Bill, that he's always had the love for music, house music specifically. Same thing here, So to me, it's just like it's always been about the music, nothing else. You know what I mean? So when I remember this conversation that we actually went to the Winter Music Conference in Miami that happens every year.
Poor guys, you had to go to the Winter Music Conference in Miami. That's terrible.
Now check this out. So to me, it's just like it's become this massive thing. You know what I mean? Where now like there's like everybody goes to that, from promoters to scout out for talent, to be part of the parties, to party goers, because all the best of the best are there, you know what I mean, that kind of thing. Now check this out. So to me, it's just like, it's become this massive thing. You know what I mean? Where now like there's like everybody goes to that, from promoters to scout off for talent, to be part of the parties, to party goers, because all the best of the best are there. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. But here's what I remember from Bill. He told me this. Now he told me this probably like, if I had to kind of guesstimate, like maybe like 99 or whatever, So we already had been going for like, a good, whatever amount of years prior to that. But he told me like this. He's like, he had told me that, he goes, man, do you remember, I mean, because it's still the same thing though, it hasn't changed, but he goes, do you remember when only us people that just made the music went to these events?
Right.
And basically we are nerds. We were nerds then, we're still nerds about the music, you know what I mean? So to me it's just like, wow, I never really saw it that way, because just the same way as somebody's straight into like computers, they're deep into it, they'll tell you anything about it. That's how we were about music, house music or any producers or whatever. And so I was like, yeah, that's right, we are nerds to what we do, you know what I mean? And I love it, because to me the whole thing, we've never, even to this day, we haven't changed the fact that we love the music. And that to me, I think as long as we keep that always in the forefront, nothing else, that's what there's no egos and there's no whatever. It's just like, we're always promoting.
It's like what Michael Jordan called at that time love of the game. He would have played ball no matter where.
Exactly.
It just turned out he was a bull winning titles, but he would have played ball in somebody's backyard by the Chicago Stadium.
Exactly, and I think it's the exact same thing with us,
And we're with Cesar Hernandez, CZR. We're at the output at 1758 West Grand Avenue, and it's your new establishment, I guess. Pretty cool. Welcome to the neighborhood. I got here like in 3 minutes walking,
right.
Which is pretty neat. You having your own business now also sets you apart. We talked about people like you and Billy getting set apart from the 28 DJs on that one plugger.
Right.
But now we're taking a kid out of Little Village, out of Cicero, out of Pilsen, and you've made enough good decisions that you've got your own business. You haven't been in trouble. I haven't seen you on the news. I visited one of your label mates in prison not that long ago. You know who we're talking about.
Yeah.
And I take his phone calls and I visit him, and the story still drives me crazy, but a friend is a friend, right?
Right.
But you didn't do that. I mean, if you walk into the output, you're going to see this big old banner and it says Farragut High School, and that was the high school for that time. It was either Farragut or Benito Juarez or Curie.
Right.
And a lot of those kids that went to those schools didn't always make great decisions, but you've made some great decisions. There had to be a reason why you stayed on the straight and narrow when you probably could have done some other things.
Yeah, you know what? I guess, I have to credit, I guess, my parents about that. You know what I mean? They just, always told me to do right. You know what I mean? Basically, and I listened to them. You know what I mean? I have a lot of relatives as well that just same. It's just, as I say, you're a product of your environment, kind of thing, or whatever. But you know right from wrong, and you want to go that route, you could. It's really easy, you know what I mean? I think it's harder to stay on the
well, I've been there because I've hosted a lot of these events throughout the years, and there's what happens on stage, and then there's what happens backstage, and then there's what happens in the hotels.
Right.
So there's a lot of temptations out there for not only the artists, but the DJs who are spinning for them, and the guy that holds the mic and introduces them, and we get followed around by a lot of characters. Not all of them are good characters, so I imagine at some point somebody said, yo, Cesar, you want to go do this?
Right.
And you said, no, my mom will give me a cocotazo, so I ain't going to do that.
Right. I guess in a roundabout way, yeah, for sure. Like, to me, it's just like, I just always shied away from just negativity. Even to this day, you know what I mean? Just negative people, I don't like them around me, you know what I mean? I like to stay on the positive side of things. People, that, again, are up to no good. I don't want to be a part of it, but I've always been like that, you know what I mean? Since really young, So.
Let me ask you this, at the risk of being political. Why is it that the communities that you guys came from had not necessarily gotten better in the last 20 years? I've been told that if I wanted to go visit the club on 28th and Ridgeway, that I better be careful. I was told that in 1986. So I'm thinking things must have gotten better, but they say no, it's rougher out there. So why are some of these communities just not advancing? We sit in a community now where the output lays. I grew up in this area, and it wasn't always good news.
Right.
And now, of course, it's a lot better, and there's a different type of people that live here, but a lot of us that stay behind as well. But boy, you tell somebody you're going to go visit your old buddy on 28th and Ridgeway, and they're telling you that might not be a great idea.
Right.
In 20 years, things have not progressed.
It's sad, but yeah, it's still the same thing, and I don't know why. You know what I mean? It's just like.
But you have the eyes of a DJ who's spun for all this time, and a producer who's been around for all this time. You've been to these events, you've seen some of these kids, and you would think that somebody would have learned something by now.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You would think, but just like anything else too, I remember even like growing up, nobody actually ever pushed making music as an option for me. I don't know where this music making came from, you know what I mean? But all I can call it is a gift, you know what I mean? Because that's really what it is. So then to me, it's like, whatever I can do to help somebody else that has an interest in it or has the gift and nurture it, I do it, because nobody did it for me firsthand, you know what I mean? So I had to go look for it. So then, find out how do you produce a song? Like, I have ideas and whatever. So I guess more program, even like in the schools, I know and it was funny because in school, although there's a music class and there's art and there's whatever, I was not even interested in music in school like that. But I wish somebody would tell me, like, you should do this or listen to this or whatever, and guide you. You know what I mean? But I think a lot of people just need guidance too. You know what I mean?
Talking about guidance, tell me about your support system then. You were 16 then, 21 years ago, but I'm not going to tell anybody how old you are now. You're not 16 anymore. You would have had to have some sort of support system in place that allowed you at the age of 16 to say, yo, I'm going to do this, I'm going to put out a record, and rather than saying, put out a record, you better go to college, get your degree, young man.
Right.
And then you've stayed in the business. So tell me about that support system. You've already talked about your parents a little bit. They've been there from the gift.
Right.
Those vocals so sound like Gene Chandler. Remember that song when your number one was a big disco song? And now we're hearing it on CZR's compilation. That one is entitled Chicago's South Side. We also heard Rise, which was pretty cool because it took a classic in the pop music world or in the instrumental or adult contemporary music world, and then CZR turned it into a very cool cut on his collection entitled Chicago House Experience. We also listened to, what else did we play from Cesar? Structure, which is a big hit. And then at the top of the hour, Deep Into the Track, also CZR. All of these cuts are courtesy of Chicago House Experience, mixed by CZR, the dance music vibe of Chicago. And we'll continue to play those types of songs. So how's my muffled voice working for you? Here on a Saturday morning, I'm not feeling that great. I had a tooth issue with my root canal earlier. My head is still feeling like it's about to explode because I've got like this migraine thing, but I still sound okay. But when we were at the output, I'm checking the levels on CZR's mic regularly and it sounds fine. But I can't check the level on my mic because I'm talking myself. So it turned out that my mic was potted up a little too high and it comes out a little muffled. And then the question becomes, do you want to still use this for Club Kids Radio and www.wakeupdancing.com? And I said, you know what? Yes, I will. And we'll continue to do that in just about 60 seconds right here, Club Kids Radio.
Alex Rodriguez of the New York Yankees talks about the Boys and Girls Clubs.
When I was 9, my mom had to work 2 full-time jobs to keep our family together. She didn't get home till 11. The streets were there, but for my sake, so was the Boys and Girls Club.
The Boys and Girls Club is a positive place for kids to go every day after school, to do homework, make friends, and play ball.
Eddie Rodriguez ran the Boys and Girls Club in my neighborhood, and he still does today. He taught me to believe in myself, to be positive, stay grounded, and to keep my eye on the ball. I still come back to train at the Boys and Girls Club. With Eddie, he's like a father to me.
There are more than 3,000 Boys and Girls Clubs where caring people like Eddie are helping our kids succeed.
Does it work? It did for me. Support the Boys and Girls Clubs, the positive place for kids.
Call 1-800-854-CLUB.
Wait. up dancing. Wake up. Wake up dancing. Wake up dancing. Harv is gonna make you dance. Wake up dancing. Wake up dancing. Wake up, Harv is gonna make you dance.
That's me here at 1590 AM WCGO, where Chicago goes every Saturday for Club Kids Radio. And if you happen to miss any of it, go to www.wakeupdancing.com, where you'll see a big collection of past versions of Club Kids Radio, along with stuff that we did at the original WCYC when I used to be at 88.7, maybe some stuff that I used to do at, what was SBC 1240, something like that. Anyway, forgive us for the muffled mic on the interview, but Cesar sounds pretty good, so I figure we can keep doing that. And we've got another half hour to go, and we sat down for like an hour and a half, 15 minutes of which is on the YouTube already, so you can check out the video, and the audio is not so great, but you can check it out, and you'll see us talking stuff. Adrian Lopez with that, and Alex Ortiz of the new 90.5 was supposed to be there as well, and he was at the House Music Festival in Washington Park hanging out with Rocky Jones and Benji Espinoza, so he was not able to take part in the interview, but it's okay. If he wants to use any of this for his own show, I'm okay with that. Later on in this interview, we're going to talk about Daryl Pandy, the late Daryl Pandy. This is a track that CZR had done with Daryl Pandy. This one's entitled Do You Want My Love? Right here in 1590 AM WCGO, where Chicago goes. The other places where we used to go for Club Kids Radio. Here's another little tidbit before we go back to the interview. Our original interview between CZR and I back in 1990 aired live from the studios at the Little Village Boys and Girls Club. It's true, it's true.
A lot of people just need guidance too, you know what I mean?
Talking about guidance, tell me about your support system then. You were 16 then, 21 years ago, but I'm not going to tell anybody how old you are now. You're not 16 anymore. You would have had to have some sort of support system in place that allowed you at the age of 16 to say, yo, I'm going to do this, I'm going to put out a record, and rather than saying, put out a record, you better go to college, get your degree, young man.
Right.
And then you've stayed in the business. Yeah. So tell me about that support system. You've already talked about your parents a little bit. They've been there from the get.
Right. Ironically, so my parents actually didn't want me to DJ. They didn't want me to, be a part of that whole nightlife thing or whatever. So then, what I did is like,
you snuck out, didn't you, young man?
I did. So to me, it's like, I always search for that, and I'm gonna call it a high. You know what I mean? Because to me, it was a high to be able to play for a crowd. And expose music that you like. I like this song. I love it. So then you spin it, and I searched for that high, I guess. I said, and that's all I was into, is just music, nothing else. So then my parents didn't want me to be a part of that, because what they looked at it is you're in there for the drugs and drinking, and I didn't drink, I didn't do no drugs. And then as the time went by, so now I'm talking about between 12 and like 15. So then I got this this job when I was 16 at DJ International, and got the job, and then had ideas, started recording. Now this whole time since I've been recording artist since I was 16 till now, you're talking about support system. So I have my wife. Back then she was my girlfriend.
Oh, even back then?
Back then. So my girlfriend at the time when I started making music is was my girlfriend for a couple of years, and we married, and then married since then with her. You know what I mean? So
if I didn't have my hands with a microphone, I'd give you a sitting ovation, because that stuff ain't supposed to happen. Even if people are getting married these days, 2.5 years later, that's supposed to be it.
Yeah.
You guys have managed to hang on to that. That's pretty good.
Exactly. So to me, it's just like, having her by my side and supporting me for whatever decisions I make. She was there, you know what I mean? And she's been there, and since again, and she actually would give me rides to the. Oh, I gotta go record today.
She would carry your milk crates.
Right? No. I never, no. I'll carry that stuff. No. She actually would pick me up, drop me off in the at the studio, leave, and then when I'm done, come pick me up and drop me off at home. You know what I mean? So to me, that kind of. That meant a lot to me.
That is huge.
And to this day, she, the same thing. She's like, whatever you need to do. And and it was funny because she saw progress in what I was doing. Like, wow, that's good. So just like anything else, you wanna make you wanna support something like that, I guess. You know what I mean? Because I would. You know what I mean? Even like my son, he's into music. He's into rock music. And never pushed music to him, DJing or anything like that. But he just kind of like, I did buy him a guitar because he was interested in music. So I did buy him a guitar. And then he just, with the internet, he just Googles this or YouTubes that, and he was learning by himself. And so now he's like, he's a musician, you know what I mean? So to me, it's just like, I've always encouraged whatever he's into, as long as it's positive, and encourage it, whatever, So same thing with my daughter, whatever. But so I guess that's what she did to me back then, you know what I mean? She encouraged me, like, like make sure, she enabled me to make sure that that's what I like to do, and that's what we're doing, you know what I mean?
How do you express to your kids your own story? They know you as dad.
Yeah.
They don't know you as the kid that grew up in a rough area. They don't know you as the kid that was DJing that put out a record when he was 16. You're dad, but they also know that this is what dad does. So how do you kind of...
that was actually kind of weird because, again, at home I'm dad. That's it, you know what I mean? For the most part, never pushed what I did to them. But they would see it, but they, to them it's just like, I'm in the basement, with the computer or whatever. So they didn't look at it, whatever I was doing. And to some people, this is greatness, what you did, and but to them, they don't know that. All I just want to do is just take care of them and whatever. So then, as time went by, they kind of started seeing a little bit. And my wife would tell them too, like, your dad is, this dude or whatever. Like, open up this magazine, and it's from Europe. Look at this over here, and so they would see that, like, why is he on the magazine? Or even my nieces are like, why is Theo on that? Why is he there? He's like, oh, because your Theo makes music, and he does this. And then, well, why is Dad, going over there? Why do they don't have DJs over there in Europe? It's like, well, no, because he's, whatever. So they saw it a little bit.
That's funny.
And then...
It's funny, but it keeps your feet on the ground, too, doesn't it?
No, very, very. There was a story actually I want to share. There was one time we went to the, what was it called? This sounds stupid right now. It had to do with the Mexican and some law, whatever that was happening, whatever. So there was a march that we went from Union Park.
This was the Arizona laws where they're kind of redoing the whole immigrant thing, where they were saying that they could stop you for no reason and check your papers.
No, it was right before that one, though. I think it was about a year or two before that one. So it started in Union Park, and we were marching downtown, and we were going, along the way, whatever. So then, I'm Mexican, so we're immigrant parents and whatever. I was born and raised here, whatever. But I support that. You know what I mean? Like, I want to make sure that because my wife also, she's from Mexico, whatever. But she was raised here, and the whole papers thing. So it means a lot to me. So I'm there to support whatever the movement was. So anyway, so we're walking down Randolph at this point, and then there's people, there's businesses, whatever. So started seeing me, and they're like, hey, this. So like, hey, like. Man, he knows a lot of people. And I'm with my family. I'm with my nieces, my son, my daughter, wife, sister-in-law, whatever. So they're like, man, he knows a lot of people. He knows a lot of people. He's like, no, a lot. He goes, and they would ask me, like, do you know them? I'm like, not really, but they know me, and that's cool. You just got to be polite, whatever. So anyway, so we're getting to the end, close to Michigan, and then we're like, okay, well, where are we gonna go eat or whatever? So anyway, so we stopped at this corner, and there was this dude on the phone. And then, so we're all like in the corner, whatever, and then he just keeps looking, and I didn't notice it, but somebody from my group noticed it, like, hey, that guy keeps looking over here, and we're like, who? He's like, over there. So we looked over there, and we're like, do you know him? I'm like, no, I don't. So then he was on the phone with whoever. Now, he's from California, So he's, he comes up, now that he got my attention or whatever, he comes up to us. He's like, hey, and my group or whatever. But he was coming up to me and he's like, hey, you're CZR, right? I'm like, yeah. He's like, yo, I'm DJ such and such. I'm from LA. He's like, yeah, that's him right now. So he's on the phone telling his buddy or whatever. So everybody around us, can I take a picture? So yeah, I took a picture with him. So the way he reacted, my family never saw that. You know what I mean? So they were just like, what's happening here, whatever. So then my wife had to explain to him once I was talking to him, whatever. Then we went to eat or whatever. So then they were like really just dumbfounded, like, that's my dad, or that's just my Theo or whatever. But when they saw it firsthand, it really kind of like brought it to me, like, wow, like, yeah, they have like no clue, which is good, because going back to keeping grounded, that's what it's about.
www.wakeupdancing.com and 1590 AM WCGO, where Chicago goes for Club Kids Radio, and a celebrity conversation with Cesar Hernandez, CZR, the producer. I keep talking about Dance to the Drummer's Beat, and it's a 21-year-old song. If it were a child, they could go to Studio 63 right now and actually get served. You've done a lot more than that. I've seen your name on other projects that you've produced and put out on your own. Name some of those things that we might be familiar with, or listeners could just run over to YouTube or Google or something and look for.
Right. So I mean, yeah, there's like, a lot of titles that have that I can mention. It just depends on areas and whatever. You know what I mean? Like, there was a girl that just came here that is helping us out, promoting my establishment here at Output, and I met her like maybe 3 weeks ago, but didn't really talk to her till this Wednesday. And she said something. She goes, hey, so you did this song called Groove to This? So I'm like, oh wow. First of all, I didn't even know she knew that I made music. So when she told me that, she really flipped me out. I was like, oh wow, like, you know that song? And she goes, yeah. So to me, it's just like, normally people would be like, oh, CZR, and associated with Chicago Southside, because that's one of my songs that I did,
right.
Whatever. So that's one title that people always, go towards and mention that one. When she told me that Groove to This, that was a big song in its own right, specifically actually in LA. So Groove to This was probably bigger in LA than, Chicago Southside was in LA, you know what I mean? So to me, it's just like the fact she's from here and she knew that song, was like, wow, that's cool, because normally people would, go to like, again, Chicago Southside or Structure, you know what I mean? So titles like those or whatever that, like Bill played them on his mix compilations, right, or whatever, you know what I mean? Heavy rotation with like Cesar, it's, there's like a bunch of songs that Bill would play, or remixes that I did as well, you know what I mean? And he would play, and he exposed those songs that, again, they're coming out of my basement, you know what I mean? And like all house music for the most part, you know what I mean? But to me, look at it from my point of view, is like, man, this is a track that I just did in my basement, 2 weeks ago. Bill's playing it on the radio now. And to get to that point, though, it wasn't like just easy, like I literally had to like call Bill, like, have you heard my record that I gave you, and this and that, whatever. And she's like, what song is that? What label is it on? Whatever. So like, I still had to do a lot of work to get him to listen to the song. Even though I gave it to him, doesn't mean that he's gonna listen to it.
Right.
So like, I literally had to call him and stuff. I used to work at a record store back then, so I called him, whatever, and then got his attention, and he starts playing it. he starts playing the song, and then kind of like, yo, I like your sound, and then he wanted me to. Then I started working with him at his label, or whatever, too, doing tracks for him. And there's a bunch of titles that I can say. Like I said, it goes Chicago Southside, Structure, Cesar are some of the most popular ones that he helped make big or whatever, because Bill has a big influence in this house music scene. Then there's a song called Bad Enough that I did with originally was actually for Bill's label, which is it came out in test pressing, but actually ended up coming out on Subliminal with Eric Murillo. Bad Enough is another one that people like a lot. Did a song called Bringing the Funk, and so there's a bunch of titles. Just recently I just shot a video for a song called Tonight.
That's the one that you shot here.
Yes.
That's your output. I missed it.
You missed it. So we have the video on YouTube now. The name of the song, like I said, is called Tonight, and that's under an alias though. It's the All Stars. So my music partner now, Malik and I, we write songs. We write songs for other artists. We develop our own artists. We work with artists. That song Bad Enough. Actually, I did it with Daryl Pandy. Recently passed away. So I've worked with. That's legendary to me. To me, it's just like for me to be at that. Even at that when I did it was maybe in 95, 96 when I actually met him or whatever.
You got two voices back then. You had Daryl Pandy and you had Keith Nunnally.
Yeah.
And this is what house was.
Right.
Keith has got the pipes. But Daryl will work a stage.
Oh yeah.
That guy will throw himself on his back, kick his shoes off, scream and yell, sweat his head off. And that's the fun thing about Daryl. And the thing about Daryl is what you're saying about you and Billy is, and Keith, Keith falls into that category too, where all of you are playing the game because you just love playing the game. Keith will sing any song. He doesn't just sing his stuff.
Okay.
And Daryl, anything he sings, he put that house sound into it, and then like you said, you and Bill stayed in the game because you just loved the stuff. And you say Daryl Pandy.
Music, yeah.
You say Daryl Pandy to me, and it's unfortunate that he's not here any longer, but man, if you were lucky enough to see him perform, that guy would put on a show for you.
Oh yeah, and that's one thing I remember about him. When I met him, we could start to record. We actually started writing songs together. I was like, well, what are we gonna do? I'm like, all right, well, I got this track, and then we just started writing lyrics or whatever. He does, the melodies, and so what? We recorded 2 songs, and so to me, at that point, it's like going back to not taking things for granted. Like I had to live in the moment, and I learned that at an early age. You got to live in the moment because that happened twice that we recorded, And for me, I'm just a kid from Pilsen.
Right.
This is Daryl Pandy, So that to me, to be able to experience that with him, and I was like, wow, I was in awe, I really enjoyed recording, and even working with Bill, these guys have done stuff, and it's just like, wow, I'm here.
The thing is, you're on their level, and for some reason, you're not seeing yourself on this level, But think about it. Go to Facebook again and look at that promo that says my first interview 1990. So you wouldn't have been in the game this long if you weren't playing it pretty good.
Right. No, thank you. But I guess that's that whole part of just making sure that the music is always first. Making sure that that's what it's about. I enjoy. I'm a fan of the music. So I want to make sure that stays always in the forefront. I don't never want to forget that part, whatever. So I always make sure that when I'm making music, I make it from a fan point of view. I want to enjoy this song, when I listen to it. You know what I mean? And I want the people that are listening to it enjoy it the same way that I'm enjoying it.
Right. We've spent so much time talking about you and the music, and we can do this forever, but I don't want to ignore the fact that you've moved into the neighborhood and you've got this huge establishment. You gave me the grand tour a couple of weeks ago,
right.
and now we're back, and Adrian's shooting footage. And tell me about the output. It's interesting for me because I've lived in the area and I've seen the different versions of this building.
Yeah.
And now Cesar and his partners are here doing something that's just a little bit different than the others.
The people that are listening to it enjoy it the same way that I'm enjoying it.
Right. We've spent so much time talking about you and the music, and we can do this forever. But I don't want to ignore the fact that you've moved into the neighborhood and you've got this huge establishment. You gave me the grand tour a couple of weeks ago,
Right.
and now we're back, and Adrian's shooting footage. And tell me about the output. I mean, it's interesting for me because I've lived in the area and I've seen the different versions of this building.
Yeah.
And now Cesar and his partners are here doing something that's just a little bit different than the others. Tell me about getting involved in a business all your own that has really almost nothing to do with producing a song.
Right, exactly. To me, it's just like, my partners, actually, I put the team together. And it's funny because just kind of like anything else, to me, it's like music found me. I don't know if I found music or, this place, like I found my partners or they found me. Whatever it was, I put the team together because these guys were like, hey, on one end, I'm like, hey, C's, have you ever thought of doing something, whatever? I'm like, what do you mean? Like, yeah, like your own spot or whatever. And I was like, I go, yeah, of course, whatever. But, since I'm so much into the music and producing and writing and DJing, like that to me was not an option, but it was a thought.
But your own spot to a lot of people would have been a place where somebody could go and juke.
Right.
And what you've done with the output is not necessarily where you go and juke.
Right. So this is where it came. So then this guy was talking about doing a club. This other guy's like trying to do also like a night spot or whatever and that. And two of my partners are actually they own restaurants. So they're like, what do you think of this? So then one of the ideas was basically this, and that's where the whole thing evolved. It's from like saying, you know what, we're in Chicago. House music is what you do. House music was is from here. Why isn't there a museum that people can go to and say, wow, this is this, whatever? So that's kind of where the idea comes from. So instead of doing like a nightclub straight in your face, we said, no, let's do a restaurant that's kind of like the Hard Rock Cafe. What it is to rock,
right?
Output is to house music. So we want to have, again, what I love to do is house music, Produce it, write it, spin it. So to me, it's just like paying homage to these people, So when people come here, they house music and Chicago South Side and CZR, that goes hand in hand. So by creating something like this, then people come and visit because they're gonna expect something house. So my partners are into house music as well, and they saw the vision. So let's incorporate this and whatever, and let's put it all together. And that's how it worked out. We have Eddie. And I've actually known Eddie since I can't even remember. Like I grew up with him. He's also from Pilsen.
Poor guy, another success story. That's terrible.
We have John and Julio, which these guys, I met them like I don't know, maybe like 5 years ago, something like that. And but level-headed people. You know what I'm saying? Going back to just staying positive. Like I like to be around positive people. You know what I mean? And these guys have smart business sense. Are familiar with house music. They love house music. They wanted to do something for that scene, for that style of music. You know what I mean? Just like, you have Buddy Guy.
Right.
He's got his blues spot, whatever. One of my partners like, yo, C's, you got to have your spot like that. He's got to be, I'm like, okay, let's do it. You know what I mean?
But it almost sounds like, or it looks like, because I've been here now a couple of times, where the idea is kind of still in its infancy, right? Because
exactly.
We took the grand tour. Maybe we'll shoot footage in a little while, and you'll be able to see it on YouTube, not on the radio. And you've got Farley Jackmaster Funk's turntable. You've got, I think Kenny Jason gave you a record or something like that. Malik from the Out Here Brothers did the same.
Yeah.
So there are pieces here and there, but it doesn't look like it's at that point of this is the destination. Look at all this stuff.
A lot of stuff, exactly. But we know exactly. So we're getting pieces all the time. We got Daft Punk. Send us something, good friends of mine, Bill. So we have items that, it focuses on the music. Like we have, like you said, turntable from Farley. We have Green Velvet, Cashmere, how you guys know him. He's going to give us a keyboard. So we have a lot of stuff that we have still that we even haven't put out yet. For the same reason, we're getting either casings done for them or whatever. So we're just still trying to like put it all together, whatever. You know what I mean? So
it's going to be interesting because the new neighbors I know see you as a sports bar, and then people like me who have known you forever, we see it as a kind of nice hangout with some of our old friends.
Right.
And the whole aspect of the museum, and you even got a room that's kind of set up like a club. If you wanted to have like a little party, you could have a little party.
Exactly.
You've got something for everybody here.
Yeah, exactly. So we have multiple rooms and stuff that we can, and that's kind of how we put it together, because there is not one thing we were like really after, because we definitely have great food here, and I'm not just saying that. Trust me, come check it out.
Well, you know the chef, right?
Yeah, the chef. Yeah, exactly. For the most part, again, the music is part of this whole thing. Sports bar, and again, going back to my partners, like Eddie's a big sports dude. You know what I mean? I never was. You know what I mean? I was big sports, but I'm a fan of like basketball. And it probably has to do with Michael Jordan. You know what I mean? That really like triggered that whole thing. But I really like the game. You know what I mean? Not a big fan of baseball, although I played baseball when I was a teenager. But never was into sports like I was into music. So music to me is just like took over me, you know what I mean, or whatever. But all of our partners have a little bit of them in here, just like myself, you know what I mean, like the music part, he's got the sports part, and then the restaurant part, you know what I mean, so a part. So it all comes together, and it's, I think it works together. People really, really enjoy being in here, hanging out here, whatever, you know what I mean. So they like the food as well. So
1758 West Grand Avenue. It's a nice area. I told you before, close to the United Center, close to these major cross sections of traffic, so you can't really get lost looking for the output. And the community has gotten to the point where you can come and go as you please, and there aren't going to be any issues. And there's some spots where you're kind of afraid to go to after certain hours. You don't have to do that with the output.
Yeah, no, here's very easy going. Again, the neighborhood actually welcomed us from day one, you know what I mean? And that was lovely, because, going back to what you had said, I actually remember this area too.
Yeah, you reminded me of that. I forgot that you guys used to play at the Boys and Girls Club a block away, where I used to be the program director, and it was Julian and Tim and Billy, and they used to bring all their buddies, and I forgot that you were one of the buddies.
Yeah.
And now that I have my hands free, I can give Cesar a sitting ovation. Yay! Wow, time has passed again. Another hour has gone by. That is Cesar Hernandez, CZR the producer, Cesar Hernandez the entrepreneur, and the spot that we were talking about, or talking from, was the output of 1758 West Grand Avenue. And there was Angie Lopez who posted on Facebook that kept saying that she wanted to see this interview, and I told her, well, we're here and the place is open, so just come on by. And then she forgot about it. So if there are other remotes that are going to be recorded at the output, we would let you know. And then if you want to show up and watch us do radio remotely, then you can do that, because it can be a fun time, and it's a nice place to hang out and just relax for a little while. Angie Lopez, Benji Espinoza, Alex Ortiz, that would be DJ SQ, Adri Lopez también, all have checked in, and Adri was a big help with the videotaping, and she was sick then, kind of like I'm sick now. That's a little weird. I wonder if I got it from her. Anyhow, what did we play? We played Your World from CZR. We played Put My Mind at Ease by CZR. And then we played Daryl Pandy and CZR with Do You Want My Love? And now we have to say goodbye, even if we don't want that. Until next Saturday with part 2 of CZR and HR. Later.
Big imagination.